How did I end up here? My whole life, all its ups and downs, led me to this place. Far from home, far from anyone I know. A journey whose route is unknown, and the destination out of sight. Was this path just a random sequence of events that I had to follow? Or was there ever another way? Now, heading for the unknown. I can't really tell. Is this the end of the road? Or is it yet another branching?
Hey people, Voice talking to you, and today I've got something really incredible to show you. This is The Alters, a gorgeous, story-based psychological survival adventure game with a mind-bending premise. Jan Dolsky is a builder for a space mining corporation who's the last survivor of his crew crash-landed on a lethal alien planet where the sun is a deadly laser. To survive on his own, he has to create alternate versions of himself with the skills he needs. However, each of these clones has a mind of its own. If you'd like to check the demo for this title out for yourself, I have a link for you down in the description where you'll also find a link to my Twitch channel in case you'd like to hang out with us when we play these games live. Now buckle up, because this is going to get weird. As the demo begins, we are introduced to our character, Jan Dolsky. Jan is a builder for a shady but incredibly powerful and influential space mining mega company called Ally Corp. How Jan came to work for them and their overarching goals are still a mystery, but their primary aim seems to be exploring the stars in search of an extremely rare new element known as rubidium. After an unknown amount of time in transit, Dolsky wakes up to blaring alarms as his escape pod jettisons and sends him crashing down onto the surface of an unknown and extremely dangerous alien planet. While burning through the toxic atmosphere, we get our first glimpse of the world we're facing. Towering spires of hexagonal stone mark the borders of the jet-black shoreline. Iridescent waves of what might be oil or mercury crash against sheer cliff faces mercilessly bombarded by rain. Flares of lightning illuminate the unwelcoming, hostile landscape where no life seems capable of surviving. After a rough landing, we escape our landing pod in an advanced hazardous environment suit. This intricately designed set of protective gear is sort of like a spacesuit with a mechanized exoskeleton that supports our weight and allows us to move in the harsh gravity. The pack on our back also serves as part of the UI, with a meter for our energy and radiation exposure. Very Dead Space style. Crossing the slick, uneven cliffs, Jan locates the landing site of his crew's captain, but finds her dead from unknown causes. A moment's scan reveals that every other member of the crew was met with a similar fate, leaving Dolsky as the only survivor, without guidance or assistance, completely alone on this eerie hellscape. I might call it a hellscape, but this planet is actually one of the most beautiful and interesting places I've visited in a game. You know, in like a existentially terrifying sort of way. It's not your typical alien world of fire or poison gas or monstrous wildlife. In fact, it's not even the oily sea, seismic shifts, gravitational anomalies, or constant storms that make this planet so deadly. The single greatest threat to survival on this planet is the sun itself. Located between 3 stars and dangerously close to one of them, the sun here is a giant flaming ball of death. I'm not talking sunburn and skin cancer, I'm talking ambient radiation strong enough to atomize steel. I'm talking light rays so magnetically active they create angled water spouts when they strike the ocean, which is freaking awesome, by the way. So, the planet has 3 separate suns. During what the demo calls day, the radiation is low enough that Jan's suit can keep him safe. At night, that radiation climbs to dangerous levels that can become fatal with prolonged exposure. Eventually, however, the 3rd sun will rise, scorching the entire surface of the planet and erasing any trace of life. Now, Ally Corp may not be trustworthy, but they didn't send Jan here just to die. Already on this planet is an incredibly advanced mobile base, essentially in the shape of a giant hamster wheel. This wheel keeps base structures suspended in its center and safe from nightly radiation, so long as its filter is maintained. The hamster wheel is a super cool piece of sci-fi tech and an awesome reason for the 2-dimensional style of the base as a whole. As a builder, Jan can use the base's workshop to manufacture equipment from materials and construct new modules. There's a number of different rooms and modules for the player to make use of, in addition to the quantum computer, elevators, quarters, and command center the base already has installed. However, aside from the kitchen, workshop, and womb, the player isn't introduced to any of these rooms during the demo. Assumedly, though, rearranging and improving your base will be vital for your survival. Different rooms have different space requirements, so strategic placement is necessary to ensure you get the most out of what space you have available. This wheel is your lifeline. It protects you from nightly radiation, and it's the only way you'll be able to stay ahead of the sun. Unfortunately for Jan, this base was also designed to be operated by a full crew of specialists, and the SOS transmission he sends out received nothing but static in response, leaving Jan scared, depressed, and completely alone on a lethal alien world. Not yet ready to give up, Jan settles in and prepares to hold out until rescue can arrive. Here we're introduced to the game's basic survival mechanics. The occupants of the base have to eat each day, and in order to make food, new structures, and vital equipment, you'll need resources like metals and organics. But to find these, you'll have to venture back out onto the planet's surface. During our excursions, we don't really get to explore all that much of the planet, which is a shame because what we can see is absolutely stunning. The dark, desolate landscape can be hard to navigate, but we have access to a 3D map and some excellent environmental UI to help us find what we're looking for. For example, gleaming red dust indicates metal veins that can be mined, while blue geysers can lead to underground deposits of organics. Harvesting metal can be accomplished by hand, but you'll need to use a fascinating series of prospecting probes to locate the deepest point of an organic deposit before you can place a drill. And the UI for this is really something, presenting this holographic topography of the underground that changes as you move the probes around. With that located, you could finally drop a mining outpost, which must then be connected to the base's power supply by setting up pylons. These outposts not only allow the player to produce resources, but also serve as fast travel points. This field structure system reminds me a lot of Death Stranding. In fact, the style of Jan's suit and a lot of the sci-fi tech also remind me of Death Stranding, which is a good thing, because the visual style of that game was really something. Now, as you wander around gathering resources, however, never forget that time is against you. Jan only has a limited amount of energy, and every action from cooking to mining to simply being awake will drain that energy. It's possible to keep working while exhausted, but that's risky and generally a bad idea. Jan will need to rest to recover, but that costs time, and time is in short supply when the sunrise means the end. Managing how you spend your time is an extremely important part of survival. Not only will staying out late expose you to deadly radiation that can build up over time, but you only have so many days before the rising sun erases you. So make every second count. I got 30 seconds till I get fried. I'll have to come back and get this stuff. While he's out mining, however, Jan makes a discovery that may well save his life. A rupidium deposit. With a sample of this miraculous element in hand, Jan finally gets an answer from Earth. He's given a time limit on how long till the sun turns the base into a microwave, given full access to the mission's quantum computer, and instructed to build a womb. With this womb structure, Jan is to use the rupidium, which apparently accelerates the growth of living tissue, to create a clone of himself. This altar isn't just a copy of our Jan, though. Each altar created in this way is a version of Jan from a reality in which his life drastically changed direction at some point. We get a long, deep look at Jan's past here, and it's quite a story worth reading. From his abusive father to his choice to leave home, his struggles with work and education, and his eventually falling out with his wife, each altar is the answer to the question of what if I made a different choice? From a writer's perspective, I think that's an awesome setup for a lot of man versus self, especially when that self might be a different man entirely. But a different life path means each altar has a different personality. They have different goals and will react differently to their situations. They also had different professions and experiences, which means each altar has a different set of skills the player can utilize to their advantage as part of their crew. For example, the first altar we create came from a timeline where Jan never left home and instead became a mechanic. His mechanic skills are the only thing that can help Jan fix the base's broken engine and get it moving to the evac point Ally Corp promised for him. However, Mechanic Jan is much more assertive, and he sees our Jan as less of a man for leaving his mother with his alcoholic father. These altars aren't mindless servants, and you'll need to manage their emotions and convince them to work with you if you want to survive, by whatever means necessary. If an altar is constantly reminded it's just a clone, it may become depressed if it begins to try and search for a meaning for its life. An altar unaccustomed to stress may snap under the tension of such an extreme survival scenario. And an altar who doesn't want to answer to our Jan might be pushed to rebellion. As soon as I saw the emotion cloud UI pop up, I started wondering, is this guy gonna strangle me in my sleep? Frankly, I think the emotion system is a stroke of brilliance. It feels like every other hardcore survival game has done a stress system at some point, but when you're part of the crew you're managing and also the same person as the crew you're managing, this mechanic takes on a whole other layer. Talking to an altar is a psychological puzzle where you have to ask what this version of Jan would need to hear. On top of that, there's a lot of emotional implications here that make for great drama, not only internally but externally as well. What if one Jan doesn't believe it's a clone? Are there unknowable consequences for what we're doing here? What's going to happen to these altars if Jan eventually is rescued? Considering how some of their lives may have turned out better, there's a lot of regret and self-doubt waiting for Jan to confront. Now, from a gameplay perspective, I want to clarify I'm making a lot of assumptions about these altar mechanics. The emotion system was only briefly touched on in the demo, and obviously I didn't get to see the long-term effects of it. That said, I doubt the UI regarding it was just there for show. I'm just pointing out that I don't know how good these mechanics will be. I'll also point out that we're corralled into a pretty small area during the demo, so it could be that the rest of the planet's surface ends up looking exactly the same and becomes a bit boring. I'm just stating the unknowns here. I have faith, considering what I've seen, that the rest of the world will be worth exploring. So putting aside the unknowns of mechanical depth and environmental variety, I am absolutely in love with this game. Not only are the environments rendered in incredible detail and GPU melting fidelity, but the style and UI were incredibly unique. Now, as I said, I didn't get to explore too far afield, but everything I saw screamed dark sci-fi, and I am right on board with that. It sort of felt like playing through one of those underrated cerebral sci-fi movies that only has one or two actors stranded somewhere, but also only needs one or two actors because the internal conflict overlapping the external conflict makes for such a damn good story. Plus, the world here is spellbinding, and I'm not just talking about the mysterious planet we find ourselves on. Every answer I got led to more questions, and I mean that in the best way possible. I mean, what is Rupidium really? Why does it have such a strange effect on Jan's mind? Isn't it a little strange that every version of Jan eventually joined the same project that led us here? Did Ally Corp plan for this outcome? Have they done this before? It seemed like they didn't know Rupidium would be here, and they seem largely ignorant of its functionality, yet they have advanced methods of utilizing it. The story is captivating, the music and visuals are absolutely stellar, and the voice acting and writing are top shelf stuff for which I already have serious respect. If the gameplay shapes up to be just as engaging and fun, this is going to be one hell of a game. Personally, I'm sold. I can't wait for the altars to come out. But then again, I'm just the voice in your head. So now I want to hear what you think about this game. Have you played the demo? What are your theories about Ally Corp and the altars? I'd love to talk with you about it down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like helps me out a ton, and a subscription is of course the best way to see more videos like this. Thank you so much for listening to me today, and you'll be hearing from me again real soon.